Good morning, children. Possibly this would be the last class of the chapter called as More on Networks. I am taking very slowly 4 or 5 concepts. Today I will make every effort to wind up this chapter if possible. Otherwise, this would be the second last. I will try to finish off. Right? The terms which I am going to utter, which I am going to use now, most of them must have heard about it and we use in our day-to-day life. First one, we call Internet Service Provider, ISP. The company or the organization who gives the service to you, we call service sector. What do you mean by service sector? You pay for the service they provide. For instance, you have Airtel, a private entity, you have Vodafone, right? You have these two are private entities. Jio is a private entity. These are the major players in private entity. And we have a government, PSU, public sector units, government enterprises like BSNL, MTNL, right? So they are the one who gives the service, internet service they give you. The matter is very, very simple. What is simple is, they give the service and you pay for it. That's it. We all know if the service is good, we take the services. If the service is not good, we switch over from one organization or one company to another company. Very simple. ISP, as I told you, Internet Service Provider, or is also called as Internet Access Provider. Matter is same, ISP or IAP. Internet Access Provider or Internet Service Provider, matter is same. What do you mean by bandwidth? Bandwidth means the volume of information or the amount of information per unit time. What do you mean by that? Bits per second, Mbps, kbps, kilobits per second, megabits per second, gigabits per second, terabit per second. It's all in terms of per unit. Per second, how much unit you can send it across. For example, I'll give you a parallel example, you'll understand very fast. When a tiny toddler, the kids, when they eat, they take a very small spoon. They take a teaspoon. As they grow up, what happens is they use a tablespoon. Because their food pipe is small, they cannot take a huge quantity, they take slowly. Exactly, lesser you pay, the bandwidth is less. More you pay, the bandwidth is more. Okay? LTE, okay, long-term evolution. What I am trying to tell you is, some they say 4G, some they say 5G, some they say 3G, some they say 2G. 2G isn't there, 3G is not there. The time is changing. It's all about bandwidth. 2G, 3G, 4G. Right now we are using 4G. Some service providers they use as a 4G. Some they say LTE, long-term evolution. What will be that? The matter is same. Per unit, per second, what is the information? It coming to your device or it goes out of your device. In other words, you are download and upload. Oh, the download is very, very poor. Buffering all the time because the network isn't there. The area where we are there, okay, nearby we do not have a network station. That's the meaning. Okay, sometimes in particular, most of us must have experienced in the evening hours. People they start using it, it simplifies. The reason is the more the user, the bandwidth becomes slower. Lesser the users or time in the midnight or late in the evening or early in the morning, what happens is the lesser the user, greater the speed. It's all about bandwidth we call. What we call bandwidth. The volume of information per unit of time that your transmission medium can handle is known as a bandwidth. What do you mean transmission? Somebody, the service provider gives a service. It comes to your device. We have a HPT, high power transmission. From here you can see a huge tower, right? what happens is it will cover a considerable amount of time. As you go farther and farther from the tower, what happens is the signal becomes weakened. So in between we have to have a line boosters which will boost the weakness of the signal. It gets boosted, so automatically it becomes strengthened. The strengthen the signals, greater the access. Okay? What I am trying to tell you, boys and girls, is this. Bandwidth means kbps, kilobit per second. Mega kilobit, bit, bit per kbps. Then megabits per second. Then gigabits per second. Now, there are some service providers, they use a particular cable is there, which is a bit expensive compared to the rest of them. Okay? It's called this optic fiber. Very thin in size, it can hold the signal. The transmission of data from X point to Y point will be consistent, unlike other medium. So what happens is, the service providers, they charge you more because everybody subscriber, they take the money, they buy the cable, they put overhead or underground. What do you mean by overhead means? You must have seen, as you walk along the road, you will find plenty of cables, right, going around. Some may be the cable operators, some may be the internet service providers, some may be the electricity department, right, power departments. So cable will keep flying. They are not any natural calamity, they are dangerous. Live wire will be there. That's the reason what happened. To be safer, these days they put the cable underground, beneath the ground. They dig this, all the time they dig the road, they put the cable and they bury it, right? The core of the cable is very thick, okay, it will not decay inside but still, the place of hilly terrain of this kind, what happens is we have a landslide. When there is a landslide, what happens is even the huge buildings and the mansions, they are washed away. Okay, what I am trying to tell you, boys and girls, is bandwidth means the volume of information per second, per time, what do you call, unit of the time, transmission time from one end to another end. Now, I am going to tell you some of the networking devices. What all the devices are there to connect so as to get the connectivity. These are the devices which are called as wireless. Wireless, right? What happens is, your device should be strong enough to receive that. If it becomes older, the receiving capacity becomes poorer. So what happens is, instead of wireless, with the cable also you can get connected. You have to have a computer, the computer should have a web browser so that you can visit multimedia websites. Or you can have a handheld devices like your cordless devices like mobile phone. Then you have to have a modem or a router. Okay, modem or a router. And you must get the service from ISP or IAP, Internet Service Provider. Somebody gives the service, that you take it, put in a modem. From the modem, if you are individually you are using, straight away you can connect to your computer. If it is used by multivarious people, you put in a hub. I will give an example. What do you mean by a router? What do you mean by a modem? What do you mean by a hub? What do you mean by bridges, switches and gateways? I am going to tell one by one. I am there in page number 177, boys and girls. Okay, what are the devices we require? Of course, to browse the internet, we have to have a laptop or desktop or handheld devices. Number one. Okay, that is a end user. Who gives the service? The service provider gives the service. You pay them, they give the service to you. That service, if you are directly using it, if it is used by an individual, you can plug in directly to your device. But that service is coming, that has to be shared with multivarious people. In that case, there are some devices are available which I am going to introduce one by one. Okay? What do you mean by a router? A router can form a LAN. LAN stands for local area network by connecting devices from networks together. Homes and business establishments use the router. What do you mean by router? I'll tell you. What happens is the service comes there, the service provider will give the service, you connect it and put in a small box type, you put that only one. I am having only one internet service. I am taking the connection of only one connection from the service provider. But I have 10 computers are there. Then that you plug in, the service provider what they give, you plug in there. What happens is, rest of the 10 computers from router, you bring the network and connect it there and make the settings. What happens is only one internet connections that can be used by multivarious users. What you see in the internet cafe, browsing centers, when you go there, no? Okay, you'll have plenty of places. Per hour they charge you 30 bucks or 40 bucks, right? What happens is, you go there and make an entry that somebody is visited, because they misuse the computer. There's a reason that can be traced. So what happens is, you can go and use the computer and fall back. For hour basis they charge you, right? What I am trying to tell you is, do you think if there are 10 computers means 10 internet connections will be there? Certainly not. They will have only one connection. The router is the one, they bring the connection from the ISP, plug in there, from there it is distributed, for which you require a device called as router. The next device is called as modem, which I told you before. Modulator and demodulator. Your computer will not understand the signals in analog form. So modem is a device which receives the instructions from the computer as digitized. The digital computer gets converted into analog, and analog signals are converted into digital. To convert from one form to another form, there are two signals are there, analog and the digitized. Digital to analog, analog to digital, whatever is required by the device, it gets converted. To do so, you have to have a device called as modem, modulator and demodulator. Modulator means converting analog into digital. Back digital to analog, we require demodulator. What do you mean by a hub? A hub is a hardware device used to connect multiple computers together in a LAN. A hub broadcasts data to all the devices on your network. This can use lot of bandwidth as it results in unnecessary data being sent. Not all the computers might need to receive the data. A hub would be useful to link up a few game consoles for a local multiplayer game using a wired LAN. What happens is the LAN, most of the LAN means is always connected by the cable. There are some LAN connections are there without the cable. For example, you come to our school campus, LAN service is given, Wi-Fi service, wireless fidelity. Wi-Fi means wireless fidelity service is given. Do you plug in the wire into our device? No. Within 50 meters circumference, you have a Wi-Fi. What happens is you can use it without connecting the cable. That's called as wireless fidelity. Okay, now I come here. I want to use the computer. We call it as a cubicle. Cubicle means where working place. Wherever you go to IT company, you will be given a seat. You will have a chair and table. And a LAN connection, one cable will be there. You take your laptop and plug in there, straight away you will get the internet service connection. Internet will be available in the RJ45. What you plug in your laptop or desktop at the back. It's called as RJ45. That connection name is called as RJ45. You plug in this, straight away you use it. You go to some other place. They are all called as wired network and wireless network. There are two types of them. So hubs are there widely used in a LAN environment. Okay. What do you mean by bridges? A bridge is used to connect two separate LAN networks that are of a same different types. What do you mean by bridging? Here on my left, 100 computers. On my right, I have a LAN which has got 100 computers. On my left, another 50 computers are there. It's also connected. 100 computers. Right hand side 100 computers are on the LAN, and on my left hand side 100 computers are there on LAN. If they are same type, both can be bridged. Bridging means what? Instead of two different LANs that can be connected by, you have to have a device called as bridge, which connects identical types of LANs in one. Okay, this means that it will not send a message if receiving the computer is not there. It will check to see if the receiver has already had the message. Thus, it can help save unnecessary data transfer. Okay, to transfer, unnecessary transfer of data can be avoided whenever you have a bridge. Now let me tell you what you mean by switch. Most of you must have seen that in our lab. Here you have a device which is boxed and kept. You go any office environment, you will have a device which is connected. You go to bank, you go to any offices, you will have a switches. Switches means it's more or less like a router only. A switch performs similar role of a hub and a bridge, but is very, very powerful than these two. Since every device on the network has permanent and physical addresses called as MAC addresses, switches use this information for transferring of data, while hub wastes lots of bandwidth. Hub is not advisable. That's the reason those days we used to use the term called as hub. Nobody uses this because unnecessary data transfer can be avoided. That's the reason why a hub wastes lots of bandwidth for broadcasting the data. Switch saves the bandwidth data, directly sending it to the where it is required, target machine. Where it is required only it will send. It will not send to the rest of the places. Let me tell you the gateways. What do you mean by gateways? Gateways make the communication possible between different architecture and different environment. So, gateway is a network device that can connect networks from different architecture and different environment. What do you mean by gateway? I am using Windows environment. Somebody is using Linux. Somebody is using Unix. Somebody is using Mac, iOS. So what happens is different type of users are there with the different platforms. Okay. Now all can be, the communication is possible to multivarious platforms. It's called as a gateway. Let's go to page number 178. Protocol. Protocol means there are certain standard set of rules. SOP, standard operating procedure. SOP, standard operating procedure. Whenever there is a basic rules are there, we call protocol. Standard set of rules on network to send and receive the data information are called as protocols. For example, some VVIP is coming to procure means the protocol means the topmost from this place has to go there and receive them. That is a protocol. Whether you like it or not, it has to be done. Right? So this is called as protocol. Internet is similar to your road network in that where the protocol has to be followed. If too many vehicles try to go down on the same road, yet congestion reduces. As I told you, what happens is sometimes this is one way, right? From morning 9 a.m. to evening 5 p.m. is one way. What do you mean by that? Now you have to take another route so that traffic congestion can be reduced, right? So there are ways and means are there. What happens is, if you go to the European countries, developed countries, what happens is they put layers of roads. 8-lane road means this side 8 lanes, that side very broad roads will be there. Still traffic is more. What happens is they have a elevated. What happens is the same way 2-3 layers will be there. Okay, parallelly the top one and bottom one, all the vehicles can lie together. That requires a lot of investment. That's why it's called as road infrastructure. This is here also same. Here also same. Day by day, plenty of users are there for the internet. The more the users, greater the congestion. What congestion? Information congestion. That your device becomes slower. So what happens is they have plenty of bandwidth. The service provider will give you plenty of line boosters will be there, so the users can do it. Another, I want to talk about certain servers, internet servers. I don't think I'll be able to finish. It's already quite lengthy class. Okay, protocol. After protocol, I'll tell you. Transfer control protocol and internet protocol. It's also what do you mean by that? Protocol used over the internet. TCP IP we call. Transfer control protocol. Transfer control protocol and internet protocol. After this we will stop. Okay. Then FTP, HTTP and all we will see in the next class. Boys and girls, I'm sure. I thought of finishing today. If I keep reading, it's not worth it. Next class, definitely I will be finishing the chapter. The last chapter is called as what? More on networks. Next class. Take care, boys and girls. You also go through page number 178 and 177 and 176. Till then, bye bye. Take care, boys and girls. See you soon.